This is Mongolian Mindset, and today me and Christian are going to be breaking down the ESFP, right? I think no one actually breaks down the ESFP correctly, and that's why you see so many people actually not getting the ESFP correct, right? So today we're going to be breaking down this personality type. So even if you're blind, deaf, and dumb, you will be able to identify what an actual real ESFP is. Okay. I think a lot of people don't actually understand what an actual ESFP is because they don't actually go outside, right? These guys, I ragged on them pretty hard earlier in my typing experience, but as I've grown, especially on the road to demigod, I've learned the jewels that they really bring to personality type. You know, these are the people that make you enjoy the moment and not worry so much about the future and have a great fucking time. They very charismatic individuals, right? But in a tight space, everybody gets it wrong. They want to rag on the TI trickster and all of that. But they don't understand that these people are, loving life and living life. Chris,
That's
anything you
right.
want to say before we get into this?
And if you want more explanation on ESFPs, go watch our Chris Brown breakdown where we go into that controversial figure and we go into the strengths and weaknesses of being an ESFP at the celebrity level. That's a great video. So you're going to want to watch that and stay tuned for this video because we're going to clear even more misconceptions about ESFPs so that y'all can stop discriminating against certain weaknesses that they may have. Even though I did ride Chris Brown pretty hard on that video, you're gonna have to go back and watch that because it was quite the show. But yeah, let's get started on the breakdown and let's go.
All right, guys. So we got who are the ESFP? We have some celebrities here. P. Diddy, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Angel Reese, right? These are all celebrities, and what are they known for? They're known for being authentically themselves, right? Not really caring, but just being themselves, and it's a breath of fresh air. So ESFPs live in the moment and find enjoyment in people, food, clothes, animals, the natural and activities. ESFPs do not let rules get in the way of their enjoyment, right? They're pragmatic, guys. They want to test those rules. ESFP thrives in teams organized or oriented to get tasks done with a maximum amount of fun. See, the thing about ESFPs, they're going to push the fun, right? Everything they're best at making things fun, right? And helping people just get out of like the mindless world that they in of just getting things done. Like have some fun, throw some fun in your life. Can enjoy being the center of attention and do not want to be left outside of the loop, right? ESPs don't like being left outside of the loop. They do enjoy being in the spotlight, even though they say they don't want to. They plunge into things, learning as they go, and are more interested in people slash new experiences. They learn more from doing than studying or reading, right? They're gonna learn from SE because SE is their hero function, their Goku. That's what they're gonna be more about, not reading books, right? As people make the misconception that TE child on the ESFP likes to learn a lot. Not as much as the ENFP because NE is a more of a mental process, while SC is a more physical process. Learn the fastest from interacting with the environment. SC very alert to nonverbal cues, but can misread intentions. They misread intentions because of the low intuition, right? The low NI and the low NE, right? Observant, practical, realistic, active, ready for immediate experience. Adaptable, optimistic, warm, gregarious, sympathetic, spontaneous, authentic, fun loving, spontaneous, charming, charismatic, impulsive, easygoing, and playful. Make decisions by using personal values, FI. They are good at interpersonal interactions. Important to act on feelings, right? They're going to act more on how they feel about a certain situation, right? You don't make an ESFP woman feel a certain type of way. They may come after you, right? I've seen it before. I've got a friend who got an ESFP upset when she was drunk and she punched him right in his fucking mouth in front of everybody, right? So, right in the moment, baby. Ain't thinking about no consequences. They get a lot of fun out of life and fun to be around. Their exuberance and enthusiasm draws others to them. Love not practicing and still being good at something. They just want to show up and get things done. Pull out the SC, boom, 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 boom. Reacting as they go. You know, they believe in that function because they've been building it their entire lives. Great at pulling things off last minute, usually possess high kinesthetic intelligence and tactical intelligence, right? Want to make a difference and do something meaningful, often masterful at showmanship, like Chris Brown, entertaining, motivating, and presenting. Believe everyone is unique and has a contribution to society. And maybe they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan, but they feel great when they can help someone else realize they are special, right? That's gonna be
Mhm.
coming more from that FI parent there, guys.
Yeah, and I just want to add
Pragmatism.
this too. Keep in mind pragmatism, right? Because a lot of people get what pragmatism is wrong. They feel like it needs to be in a negative sense, like always, acting selfishly. But it just means that you don't follow the rules, guys. Like you follow the more efficient path, even if it violates the rules. Okay, just keep that in mind. ESFPs could kind of be like the life of the party in that way. A lot more impulsive and exciting, and it comes with its drawbacks, but it comes with very clear positives as well. Okay. Now, as we see, ESFPs, they rarely plan ahead because of, that NI, they have it in the inferior slot. So they trust their ability to respond in the moment. They're, tactical intelligence, as we describe on this channel. Very similar to, mine. ISTPs are, very tactical as well. So they hate structure and routine and generally find ways to get around it with that pragmatism, right? So, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you do underhanded stuff. It just means you get around established ways of doing things. Okay. So freedom is important to them. Anything that takes it away meets strong resistance, even on small things. So anything is possible as long as they are free. That's what they believe. Okay. They dislike theory and written explanations. This could be due maybe to a TI trickster, but remember they got that TE in the child spot as well, so it's not that great, guys. They have trouble in traditional school activities, especially when they feel like there's no relevance. If it's not functional, this could be tied to the pragmatism, like we described. Appearance reflects their free flowing approach to life. They prefer sensual textures and fabric and wear bold and bright colors. This can be tied to, their tendency to be entertainers. This has something to do with that as well. They keep up their appearance. They're trendy, popular. They wear, exuberant stuff. They have a wide circle of friends, a large number of different hobbies, sports, and activities. And the problem can be that they're bad at looking at long term consequences of things because remember they live in the moment. Okay, they have that SE in the hero spot. Okay, so they're unprepared for future events. Yeah, even if it's kind of obvious to other people what the consequences are going to be for certain things, they might miss that. Okay, so they have trouble sticking to decisions and they have a lack of organization as well.
They're gonna put enjoyment ahead of obligations, right? So that's more the holistic view of the ESFP guys. Like we said, these people are very fun to be around, right? They have a way of drawing you and allowing you to be in the moment. I really hate it personally when they're like forcing me to be in the moment because I don't really like to be in the moment unless like I'm choosing to be in it and they can kind of force you to be in the moment, right?
Yeah,
Um,
especially because they can kind of switch. They force you to be in the moment and with high volume. Uh,
yeah,
with high volume. So it's
burn them
not
out.
like, for example, if me and Mercer go somewhere, I might provide a new experience, but it might just be one experience. Whereas ESFPs are more inclined to kind of, change and change and change and change. It could be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it'll
So
it'll burn me out quick. It'll
yeah,
burn me out
so
quick.
yeah,
So how do you identify an ESFP, right? Use the interaction styles. What are they? They are informative. So that means they're indirect or passive, or they add extra information when they're talking, right? Their progression of movement, they believe life is a journey. Like they said earlier, they don't really have a plan, but they just think they'll figure it out as they go. They really believe in that SE, right? SE can work for them and it works charms for them. Pragmatic slash utilitarian. So you got the ends justify the means, guys. The ends justify the means. Interest or motive. So the good thing that we talk about over here is we break this down for you. So I put pragmatic interest on it. So and you also got to think about FI with that, right? Because pragmatic interest FI is I get this, you don't get nothing, or like I'm benefiting more than you, or it'll be haha in your face with it. To a point that you be like, do these people know that like that we
that
see
that's
this,
that's rude. Like that makes
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why I always say like disgusting interest is the name of the game.
Mhm.
When I say it, like I say, like I have an ESFP friend. You call me, hey Merce, I need you to do something. Like motherfucker, what? It's always they only call you when they need something, you know. But at the same time, like I said, ESFPs they just always down to have a good time, right? They will allow you to just enjoy the day, right? The concrete, so they focus on what is real, um, not so much into like abstract things and things that could happen or anything of that nature. They're not really focused on that. Like, what can we do today? What's out here? So they're initiating, so they're extroverted, right, guys?
Yeah.
Um,
Also, I just want to add this because they're progression focused, and because they're kind of have that FI so high up. It's almost like they move towards things that give them a feeling. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And the way they describe their experience, because it's informative, it can seem like rambling about different things. It could be kind of hard to process what they're saying. At least from the example that we had with Chris Brown, it kind of felt like he was just, you know, um, trying to put pieces together from different things to answer a question. It was hard to follow. That's informative progression might seem like that, especially for an ESFP that has is dealing with his FI. You know what I mean?
All right, guys. So we're gonna be breaking down the cognitive functions here. I guess I'll go through the first couple, and then Christian will go through the last four.
Yep.
Right.
Hmm.
All right, so guys, the ESFP uses SE, so that's their hero slot. That's the Goku, right? So they experience life to the fullest, being incredibly present in the moment. Their minds are continuously noticing and scanning for reactions and relevant data. Getting in sync physically with people and things around them usually comes natural to them, right? So it's not hard for them to just like get enhance with the group around. They enjoy the thrill of action, physical experiences in the moment, quickly move to take action to get immediate results, right? SE is immediate. It's not long term. It's what can we use right now? We'll
Hmm.
say or do something to get a reaction out of people. So that's the part that people don't really like about ESFPs because they will say and do things to get a reaction out of people and look to see like what's that SE reaction they can get out of someone.
Mm.
They
Kind of
may
like kind of
be
like
made.
trolling, in a
Oh
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, can't do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
May overindulge. The senses insist on getting a lot of data or proceed only with what they have at the moment, right? That could be a thing for them, right? They can overindulge in those senses, like drinking, partying, sex, like any of that kind of stuff. They can overindulge with the SE, right? And then we're getting to the FI parent, right? This is the parent function. Me and Christian broke down all of these in our John Beebe. So if you need more clarification on like what the parent function is, watch that video. So they're helpful when they key in their values and stay with what's important to themselves, right? That's very important to an ESFP. They cannot get away with just getting away from what they value. Like they can SET loop, but then the ESFP is going to be feeling like they're losing a part of themselves because FI is very important to them. And as I've said in the past, like FI goes to go knocking on everybody, whether people realize it or not, because FI is the love of yourself, right? You can do all this kind of stuff to run away with it, run away from it, but the higher that FI is up, the more likely it is to come knocking quicker, right?
Hmm.
So that might like look like outbursts of emotions if they're like running away from that FI parent. They're going to have to develop the FI parent. So their good sense of inner control, independently managing and regulating their emotions, right? Good at getting a gut feeling that something's good or bad, right? They have their own internal value system. So they look at things from their value systems. Is this good or bad, right? And it's up to them, not to what society says, right?
Yeah.
So if the ESFP doesn't feel like what they're doing is bad, they don't give a fuck. And a lot of times it's about how they feel about it,
Yeah.
right?
And that
Not
and
about how
that
you feel.
that includes people as well. Like they get certain feelings about people,
Hmm.
and they'll judge them based on those feelings, right? Because it's coming from FI, their internal framework. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like a inner radar for congruency for people, okay? The people that
yeah,
they meet, etc., interact with, etc. And
yeah.
remember, they have a C as well, so it's almost like they're detecting the senses around them, and it's giving them a feeling. Okay, and they're operating based on that. So
So, one of the problems with ESFPs, they can easily detect when someone's behavior is phony or inauthentic, and they will nail you on that, right? They will nail you and say, "Oh, this motherfucker being fake or something." They really hate that because it triggers their FE critic, right, to come out. The FI parent wants everybody to be congruent, and it wants to help people be congruent with themselves. Um, they can be overprotective with their FI parent and rigid, causing them to look selfish. A lot of times people call ESFP selfish with their FI parent. Can rigidly say someone's good or bad. Like, a lot of times I say like you can't really I really stay away from calling somebody good or bad because of the circumstances that someone's going through. There's put so much in it, but they don't share all the deep emotions. That's one of the things that people don't notice about ESFPs. They might be surface level with you with the SE, but they keep that deep personal stuff to themselves, right? And if they share that deep sense of like that deep who really are the ESFP, then they really find you of value, right? With FI parent, they always know what's valuable to them or what's of value to them, right? TE child, right? So they're gonna trust that empirical thinking and want to confirm their thinking to what is observed or measurable, right? But guys, you gotta remember this is a child function. So it's not that great, right? It's not like when the ENTJ or ESTJ uses TE or INTJ or ISTJ, right? It's weaker and it gets burned out pretty quickly, right? They may like want to be in charge of something, but then notice they get burned out being in charge, right? Um, or like officially organizing things, like they may like to do it, but then they'll get burned out, right? It's a child function. They're not comfortable expressing their opinions, right? When you're a T Dom, you don't really like you're very strong on expressing your opinions. Like if you look at Candace Owens, a lot of shit that she says is fucking wrong, but she's going to enforce her fucking opinion. All right. I listen to that woman. I'm like, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. It's like I got a fucking auto detector for when she says something wrong. But the T child's gonna be big on popularity, achievements, and not in that department. And to a degree, they might over embellish or exaggerate those achievements. I have an ESFP friend, and whenever we go out, he talks about like he has more money than me and Kyle, and it's not even fucking close. It's not
Mhm.
even fucking close. And he'll like tell random people like, yeah, I got more money than Mercer or some shit. I'm like, bro, it's not even fucking close, bro. It's not even fucking close. But
Mhm.
he'll like oversell himself, with that TE child. Um, as they grow, they get a lot better at like the management of TE and the goal setting, um, and organization and that things.
Mhm. Also,
And
they start to figure out what's important to them as well as they
yeah,
develop, right? So, because with the FI parent, because the parent function usually starts developing over time, and then you start adding that, you start
Mhm.
adding that to, rein in that SETE loop that may be present there. Okay. So,
Yeah, so the SETE loop, like we talk about that, it's basically like just getting things done in the moment, right? Because that SETE, but at the same time, you lose yourself in by doing that, right? Because you're just getting things done, and you're getting things done, and that is reflective of like systems and all of that type of thing. But at the same time, systems take away from how you feel about something, right? And that can rob the ESFP of who they are, right? And that's not gonna like an ESFP is at their best when they're using their best functions, not when they're using someone else's best functions, right? So that could create a lot of problems because they're gonna have this problem with themselves, like, I'm doing all this stuff or I'm successful at this job, but I hate this fucking job because that FI parents like we don't really align with this job.
hmm
Like we don't care that we're making this money. Like I'm not feeling good about this job, or this is not aligned with who I am. Um, so a lot of times it can lead them to like not making um NI decisions, right? Because that SET loop is going to cut out NI, right? So they're going to be making impulsive decisions a lot of times, and that'll burn them in the long run, right? Like we always say, you want to be balanced. Chris, you want to take it from here?
yeah. So on that note, SI opposing. Okay, talking about being
Oh shit, I forgot. We
balanced.
got to go over. Yeah, we got to go over NI inferior.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead.
okay,
Go ahead.
so
Finish it up.
all right, so Inferior, right? May
Mm-hmm.
find long-term planning and abstract thinking challenging, guys. Like, because they're so focused on being in the moment. That's their Goku. The inferior is like their Gohan, right? Grows up and eventually it becomes a lot better. That's the goal, right? Can worry about their future, struggle making decisions, especially for ones that are far off. And I can help with their decision making. So you really want to work on that. If they don't recognize the value of this process, they're likely to disavow all symbolism and predictions of future consequences, right? So you're going to need to work on this to understand the consequences of your actions, right? With the SE, because a lot of times you're just in the moment and boom, and you find yourself in maybe jail or in a situation you wouldn't want it to be in. Um, Making unwise decisions for their life term careers and relationships. And like I said, guys, you really want to understand that an ESFP is at their best when they're using their SE and FI, and then they're bringing up that we talk about the magic diamond. They're bringing up that SE and that NI, right, to make better decisions long term, so that they can feel good about themselves or feel good about where they're going in life, right? Because that's going to make them happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they kind of fear these type of things, right? So go ahead, Christian.
So, yeah, speaking of balance, when they bring in their SI opposing personality, okay, so we've talked about this before. The opposing to the hero can be kind of a check on that hero so that you don't rely on it too much, right? So as they develop, they'll get the SI opposing, which is about recalling experiences and stabilizing situations, no, comparing to the known memory and past situations, right? So this can lead them, and it can lead to a degree of nostalgia, but it also helps them slow down that SE in order to make better decisions, right? It just recalls
Mm-hmm.
data for them. So it makes SE a lot better, even though there is a negative to that in the way of kind of being more hesitant as far as taking action. It could lead them to taking better actions. So it's actually a source for development for them, getting that SI opposing. Okay. After that, we have the FE critic. Okay, FE critic is about outward harmony, understanding people's needs, and tapping into social dynamics. What that could look like is that they'll criticize people from violating social norms. Okay, and it could be very harsh because remember, the critic is a little more direct in its criticism. Okay, and they can also criticize themselves for violating certain social dynamics as well. Okay, then
I'll go with a quick story. I will
yeah, go
go with a
ahead.
quick story. So I have an ESFP friend, and I gave her number out to this one guy because the guy asked for it, right? And the next time she saw me, and we were in front of a whole bunch of people, she fucking slammed me with FE critic. She's like, Mercer, you know better than to be giving out people's phone numbers. You know that ain't right. I'm getting slammed. I'm getting slammed by FE critic. That's not the right thing to do. A lot of times, with that FE critic, they can push their FI parent with FE critic, right? Because their FI parent can become what should be acceptable for everyone,
Hmm.
right? They're definitely gonna slam you on that those social norms and making sure people adhere to them, right? Um, Go ahead, Christian, finish
All
up.
right. All right. So next we got TI Trickster. TI Trickster is an interesting one. ESFPs get a lot of flack for TI Trickster. A lot of people think TI Trickster just means you're dumb, which is not true whatsoever. Because remember, they have that TE, even though it's in the child spot, they are gathering information. Okay. It could just get burnt out, or it could be childish consumption of sources. Now, TI Trickster is going to be kind of a weakness for him in as far as kind of evaluating those sources and checking them for logical fallacies. But you got to remember, not everyone in society is logical, so sometimes they could use that to their advantage, right? By using logical fallacies as a way to manipulate people into believing their side. Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
even though logical fallacies, when you evaluate them, they're bad arguments, a lot of people fall for those bad arguments. So
Mm-hmm.
ESFPs, because you use that socially to actually getting people on their side. Okay, so TI Trickster is not all negative actually. Any demon is just the inability to identify patterns, possibilities, connections, and opportunities, and having it in the demon slot basically equates to you being paranoid about certain patterns that may not be there. Okay, you might be paranoid about people's actions or situations and thinking that they might end up being negative for you when actually that may not even be true. Okay, so they can kind of suffer from paranoia in that way. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, with the big takeaways from TI Trickster, what I've noticed is that if you're in an argument with a TI Trickster, as the argument continues to progress, their logic tends to break down and it becomes an emotional thing for them, right? That's one of the things that I've noticed. Another thing is like me and Christian will like learn something, right? And then we will like make the connection to like this works there as well. They'll have a problem with making that connection, right?
All right,
And
let
noticing
me
that
explain.
that also
Let me
works in
explain
them.
that a little bit because people might miss what that means. What Mercer's talking about is, for example, we might watch a show, right? Fiction, essentially not even real, and whatever lesson we got from the fiction, we could parallel that to the real world, or we'll play a video game or whatever, and certain things in the video game you could parallel that to the real world and then apply it in real life or whatever. So making
Mhm.
connections between those things can be kind of hard for ESFPs to do because of this TI trickster, because it requires a degree of logic to be able to do that, and
Mhm.
because it's in the trickster spot, it's a little tough for them.
Yeah, and as Christian said, people don't really understand, but the trickster can trick people into getting through an argument or whatnot. It'll put somebody in a bind. Like he said, they can manipulate people with logical fallacies. And if most people aren't that great with logic, I don't care what anyone says, right? Most of the people that be in tight communities, they're fucking stupid. I don't give a fuck what no one says. And fucking they let people like say logical fallacies all day long and they don't catch it. It's ridiculous. So to me, they can fall prey to what a fucking ESFP says with TI Trickster,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Because there's just really a lot of shit. It's surprising to see how many people don't really understand science or anything of that nature. Yeah, most of the people you can pull that shit on, right? You can pull TI Trickster on a lot of people, but other people are gonna like me and Christian gonna really look into like, bro, that's not fucking correct, okay? And that's not right because X, and then you'll see like kind of like the ESFP kind of have a little meltdown there, right?
Right, right. So
Because
I like to say that the negatives to TI Trickster are overhyped, or you could even say TI Trickster itself is underrated, basically. It takes the right degree of, you know, logical ability to dissect these arguments and kind of catch them in their logical fallacy, but if you don't have that, you will fall prey to this. So,
yeah,
is it that
and
bad when it's actually working? Not really.
what I've noticed is like a lot of things they will say are inconsistent. Like they may say, "Oh, I'm an introvert," "Oh, I'm an extrovert." So like the logical consistency for them is really not there. And the deductive reasoning really isn't there. Like you'll catch the contradictions all the time. Like, you can't be extrovert, introvert. What's going on here? You'll see that a lot of times. The part that I hate with Ti Trickster is that they will take what you said and bend it against you.
And then take it somewhere
And
else.
it's like, motherfucker, I didn't say
I
that.
didn't say that.
And they done bended the
Yeah.
shit with Ti Trickster. They done bended the shit and then and now they done put it out there. It's like, yo, go back to what I said. Screenshot, motherfucker. Look at the fucking screenshot. That's not what I said, Ti Trickster. You'll see that a lot of times.
Yeah.
So it's good to like identify when you're seeing that.
Hmm.
But I do notice that it's kind of a lot more overhyped because people aren't as intelligent as they believe themselves to be. Um, and that's the reason why you'll see like a lot of people throw around TI Trickster in the type community to kind of like push people down, basically call them stupid or whatnot. You'll
Hmm.
see that a lot. That's
Hmm.
like a thing you could do to attack somebody. Oh, you got
When
TI Trickster.
when they themselves fall to Ti trickster shit all the time, or commit logical
Yeah,
fallacies all the time
all the
themselves.
time.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then want to get on to any demon. So like a lot of times they can misconstrue intentions a lot of times, right, guys? Reading between lines, they could be reading shit that's not even fucking there and attribute that to ill will, right? They could be like, oh, I don't like this girl or blah blah blah, and they're just reading something that's not even there. or they're trying to guess. Like I have a coworker, she's ESTP, she got any demon, and she's always guessing what somebody else is doing, and it's fucking wrong every time. And I'm just like, yo, you don't have enough information. I tell her, you don't have enough information. And they're trying to make these leaps, but their intuition ain't there. Stop, stop, stop. You're not intuitive. Stop. So it can get them into a lot of trouble because they can like see, they will see things that's not there and then get upset about those things, and then that'll be part of them, or they'll be ready to attack something,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
And it's like, yo, like you got like all of this wrong, right? Also they begin envisioning bad possibilities for their own future here, guys, right? um Not seeing that, the uncertainty and all that thing. But the good things about this is that ESFPs can get any demon under control, and it can create a lot of creative innovation for the ESFP, especially when they get that all together and meshed out and understand that they're actually pretty good at understanding possibilities. Just you really need to understand that a lot of these intuitive processes take a little bit of time. They're not as fast as your SE. Like you're
Right,
used to being able to bam, bam, bam with SE, but these intuitive processes like NI takes time, and you can't rush NI. And if you fucking rush NI, you rush into the wrong conclusion,
right,
right?
right.
Uh, so you can learn that with a lot of these things, right? And it takes times. Um, like people try to make jokes and shit, but like the functions you're good at, you've been doing your entire life, and that's the reason why you're good at it. It's like a skill, like a sport, right? You just been using that function all your life. So you got to understand these intuitive functions are a lot harder even for the intuitive people. So you got to, adjust and learn from that, right? But awareness is fucking king, guys. Awareness is king.
Right. Mhm.
Alexa off.
Ready?
All right, Chris, you want to take it?
All
Yeah.
right, so here we got a NI grip. Now, if you don't know what grips are, it's basically when your hero function gets overused and kind of it overextends itself. So then you end up relying on a function that's not that strong. In this case, it would be NI. Okay. So the short term grip, even though the ESFP is usually active, social, and optimistic, the 3-year-old within them causes them to withdraw. Okay. And what that means is basically they end up relying on the weak functions, like we mentioned. Okay. And that's described as the 3-year-old within them because they're underdeveloped essentially. Okay, so it makes them feel pessimistic, irritable, and joyless. ESFPs will then feel a need to be alone to ruminate over their thoughts, and their disappointments and solutions are not found because, like Mercer mentioned, these intuitive processes are just not there for them. Okay, at a certain point in life, and you know it could lead them to find the wrong conclusion, and it could give them these feelings. Okay, so then they end up in a grumpy isolation state essentially, where they just stew in their own misery for a while. This is the
So
short term grip.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. What I'll say about that is like what we said earlier. Like NI is not a process that you can just run out there and use, right? It takes time to synthesize data behind the scenes. You can't just use NI and just run out there. It's like no, it takes time and it comes out when it wants to, not when you want to. The thing is, people who are stronger in NI, they've gotten a lot better at it, but at the same time it cannot. Sometimes you can't rush it. You can't rush it. But ESFP are used to rushing things, so they'll have these problems here.
Right. Now, the long term grip, I guess you could describe it more of a chronic sense of paranoia and suspicion. Right. We mentioned that they could suffer from these paranoia feelings because of that NE. Right. This is a less
Hmm.
debilitating grip than the first experience, but it could be drawn out. And it can become kind of like a philosophy you have about life in general, right? That people are out to get you, that negative things are around the corner, stuff like that, when they might not even be there. Okay. They project ill intent onto other people, believing that a group is out to get them, where it might not even be true. Uh, you know, it might even be paranoia about things like germs that can result in them having to wash their hands too much or shower too much, stuff like that. This grip basically robs the ESFP of their usually generous attitude and positive experiences. But
Hmm. Yeah. I
Mercer, you
mean,
want?
basically, like what Christian's saying here is that that any demon is coming out, guys. They're seeing a lot of things and trying to read through lines, and they're attributing a lot of things to that, right, guys? It becomes a problem, but the good thing is awareness is king. And as an ESFP, if you watch this video, you know that you just need to reset. Just need to reset, guys. Just a little bit of time. So I'll take the habitual grip. This can claim an ESFP for much of their lives, involving them using weak NI to make meaning from confusion or unpleasant or sometimes traumatic experiences they have faced. So they're going to be trying to sit back and reflect using NI to kind of synthesize that data. But like we said, guys, it's not the ESFP strength, so it can lead them to like a lot of bad conclusions. This can cause the ESFP to try to make cosmic or universal meaning without merit, causing them to jump to conclusions poorly and cutting off more information, right? A lot of times NI can lead you to cut off information or not taking any more information, believing that you know, right? Having this knowing, okay? And that's not good. Ultimately, this grip is a result of indecision and fearing the dire consequences of doing wrong. Since this grip is less intense but more persistent, is confronted, the ESFP may claim to be happy. So they may claim to be happy, but deep down they're going through this habitual grip and having trouble making decisions. Not, because the ESFP usually, when SE is with them, they're ready to attack and get out there and get going, right? Knowing that if anything does arrive, they have the SE to adjust on the fly to anything. But when they're in these grips, it starts to hit them where they make an indecision. Oh no, I can't make a decision. I can't make a decision. I don't want to be the wrong one. But when the ESFP is at their best, I'm going, right? And I'll just figure it out as I fucking go,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the thing, like I said, the key words from S Heroes overcome, what is it, Christian? Adapt,
Adapt
overcome,
and
and
overcome. Adapt and overcome.
something else.
Yeah.
But that's one of the forefronts of their abilities is overcome, adapt, and whatever the fuck. I totally forgot it, bro. My brain went blank on it. I'm saying that's from TP. So we have the one-sided SE, right? So one-sided is when you lean too much into your hero function, right? That means like you're putting everything into your hero function, and you are not bringing up your other functions as much, like your NI and whatever, to balance your stuff, because balance is very important. So what this is going to look like when SE becomes one-sided without balance, it can sink into crude indulgence of food, sex, empty materialism, aggression, and harsh competition. So like you just having sex, eating food, like just indulging way too much in those five senses. Poor awareness, addiction, paranoia, indulgence for one's own and others' welfare, including loved ones. Desperate and impatient, this person may turn under or underhanded or illegal moves to get ahead or survive, guys. Right? That's because they're just leaning way too much in the SC, being in the moment. Right? You got to have balance. You got to get yourself balanced here. In the dark grip for SC hero, life is coarse, vulgar, and dangerous. He or she may keep a menial job or business, or be in a business like a questionable one, as a means to pay for partying, sex, drugs, or other pleasures. There is little sense of future or purpose here, guys. Right? No NI. Everything is ad hoc to avoid commitments and responsibility. He or she easily get caught up in tit for tat and revenge seeking with low regard for others. Right? Just out there, just crazy, man. Just fucking chaos. It's
Hmm.
fucking chaos. When the situation goes south, the person may run off to take a break or start fresh. Or she dreams of that superstar jet success, but any talent is squandered here, guys.
Now, keep in mind, like we mentioned before, development should prevent you from getting to this point. But there
Yeah.
are certain situations that just hinder your development to a degree where you just end up relying on your natural, like, hero function too much, because through a natural development process, you're supposed to develop the opposing, you're supposed to develop the parent function, but there's something in certain individuals that just prevents them from doing that. And then they end up in these grips like this. Okay.
Hmm.
So this
Hmm.
is not, we're not saying every ESFP is prone to do this, but you could get here,
Yeah.
depending on certain situations in your life. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, the big takeaways here is if you see yourself indulging too much in the five senses, it's time for you to Try to set some balance, right? Try to get out there and balance yourself a little bit. Take some reflection, you know. We'll let Christian take this.
All right. So the best way to use NI for ESFPs, uh, like I said, you give your dominant function SE a break. It reduces the chances of grips, and you develop the other functions. Only a small amount is needed. You can practice meditation, yoga, or various degrees of mindfulness. You can journal about where you see yourself in the future. This is a good tip because I like to say if you're not an intuitive, right? If you're a more concrete person, bring the abstract into the concrete realm. So by writing it down, I recommend you don't write it down on the computer. Write it down on a piece of paper, something concrete that you could touch and read. It kind of brings it into a more concrete realm, okay? And you can process it better as a concrete person. Um, Play a strategic game, so you can exercise that NI. Even though it's in the inferior slot, you still have it as a tool. You just have to develop it. You have to train it, right? So by playing a strategic game, it's a safe environment where you could kind of give it experience. And, even though it's hard for ESFPs to make the parallel between games and real life, you're still exercising that muscle. So you want to do that. Beware that the process does take time. Like Mercer mentioned, because you have SE in the hero slot, is you always want to be in the moment and you're kind of impatient with it. Like, slow your roll, essentially, slow down. Like I said in one of my videos, take the time to develop, give yourself the time to kind of progress and like build skills. Everyone wants it right now, and it doesn't have to be right now. You have a whole lifetime to develop. Okay.
Yeah, also like with the mindfulness, there's different variations of mindfulness, right? That you could practice, right? Find the one that you like, right? It might be different. Like me and Christian said in other videos, Christian notices his mindfulness better when he's out swimming, right? For me, I just need to be in a room, in a dark room, and I just sit there, right? And it's just, I do that quite a bit. Or, for me, I'll just listen. I'll have like some music like Enya playing or something like over and over, and I'll just let my mind just wander. Like find what works for you, right? Because it doesn't have to be. If you don't like fucking yoga, you don't like fucking yoga. If you
Yeah.
don't like fucking sitting in a goddamn room in dark, you don't like it. So find what works for you so you can keep continuing to do it. Because it's the name of the game is not one day, it's adding up over time. Because that's going to build that inner muscle, right? And it's very important to do that vision board. I know it sounds cheesy and shit, but maybe you put them in the goddamn sticky pads up. Like, I'm gonna be this person at such and such time. I'm gonna do this at such and such time. I'm gonna do this. And you're talking about the future and all of that, and you see it every day. Kind of like what fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger said. He went and got fucking magazines and he posted them everywhere so that he's seen them every fucking day. So then that he could crystallize that information into his head, right? You can do the same thing, right? Or maybe you have it on your phone. Like when you unlock your phone, you see that message every day. It's like little small things. You don't have to do like grandiose things, but little small things add up, like to remind you. Or like let's say 11:11, you have a certain phrase you repeat to yourself. Like I do that all the time, but I'm way stronger in it, so I rely more on it. So it's just like something that's just very natural. But you could take up these little habits, like playing chess. Chess is a lot of NI, right, and a lot of strategy. You're more tactical, and it's gonna suck for you to play that game. But just think about like your brain will be adjusted to always looking for like the best way to do something, or there's a best way to do that. And that's the wonders of playing chess. You're supposed to be taking what you do in chess and taking it to real life, like your job or whatnot. Like, okay, there's a better route here, right? There's a better pattern here. Okay. That's the wonders of it. And you don't have to do a lot, maybe one game a day, maybe one game a week, but you do want to try to like play some of these strategy games. And yeah, I guess I'll go and take this one. So we got the ESFP subtypes here. We got Chris Brown, we got Glorilla, we got Dolly Parton, and we got Adam Levine, right? The dominant version of the ESFP, like P Diddy, more confident and driven, often in leader roles, right? P Diddy is mostly in like like CEO and all that type of roles. Very dominant, doing some shady shit. You can look up the lore behind fucking P. Diddy. Nicki Minaj, I would say, is a little bit more dominant. Like she's gonna put you like she's not playing around. If she comes to your radio station and you ain't read her music and you ain't did that, she gonna call your ass out,
Mm-hmm.
because she's more dominant in that perspective, right? Um, and she has a little bit more chill to her. So a lot of people like have trouble typing her, right? Some people like, oh, she kind of coming off ENTJ-ish, then you have the creative. That's the more exploratory, the more social, often in rebel roles. So this is like the ESFP. That's the typical ESFP right here. You got Chris Brown, crazy ass, Cardi B, Glorilla. I don't know. Maybe I could put Dolly Parton in Harmonizing, but she's creative as well. Adam Levine, like they're more dopamine, need that. They need that dopamine, need to be out there, need to be getting going. Then you
Mm-hmm.
have the normalizing, the more conventional and dedicated, more often in support roles, high level of serotonin. I put Angel Reese here, she's a basketball player. She, is more conventional and more dedicated, right? Because basketball and that type of thing is gonna lead you to that realm. And then harmonizing is more empathetic and reflective, more often related roles, high levels of estrogen. I could probably slide Dolly Parton down here, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But yeah. And guys, these are all of our sources that we use here. It takes us quite a bit to go through this to make sure that we get y'all the best information so that you don't have to go anywhere else. And if you watch this PowerPoint through, that you will sound like a genius around anybody who claims they know MBTI. Okay. Anything, Christian?
Yeah, let's do final thoughts. Go to the next.
Oh shit.
There you go. Go ahead.
All right, guys. So on the ESFP, I mean, I hope you guys learn what an ESFP is, right? They're informative, they're initiating their progression, they're concrete, their interest. I call it discussing interest, like what am I getting out of the situation? But the good takeaways from these guys is like they make you be in the moment and actually enjoy life. Like you will walk away from ESFP saying, like, I never had as much fun in my life, or like that person is like really brings out another side of you. A lot of times it can burn some of us out, right? Some of us who don't have the SE to kind of deal with like all the chaos and whatnot, it can burn us out. But overall, these people are some of the most charismatic and fun-loving people. They can make fun out of anything. You could be doing a fucking boring ass job, and I guarantee you, if you're doing that job with the ESFP, they're gonna make sure you fucking have fun. They're gonna make sure you laugh, and you're gonna get a memory from that. You're gonna get a memory from that experience. um, yeah, Christian, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I like to say, as far as ESFPs are concerned, developing that NI is very important. And the way you could do that, like I said, is start to journal stuff, start to like write down stuff, bring in the concrete realm. Also, because by writing it down, you can recall it later as you developed your past sense, your opposing, right? Because then you can kind of remember the information that you put down on the piece of paper. You could set long-term goals, because you could set long-term goals and then kind of improvise your way to them, right? It's almost like you're setting a target and you can move towards it, left, right, but eventually you will get there, right? That way you could put some structure in your life as an ESFP. Also, I would like to tell the audience, don't overhype that TI trickster as far as like thinking it's so negative. Like I mentioned, yeah, it hinders you a little bit, but you could get away with it a lot of the times. It's not that bad. Also that TE child is functional. It's not
Mhm.
as bad as you think. It's not a strong suit, but it still allows them to collect a volume of information, build status for themselves, etc. So ESFPs could be very functional in society and can actually be very successful in society. But for
Mhm.
whatever reason, the community wants to put them lower on the tier list, mental tier list that they have for all the types.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, a lot of times these people who talk about ESFPs or all that, they don't really know ESFPs in real life, or they think they know one, but they really don't. Like you got to go out there into the world to actually interact with these people. You can't just be in your fucking closet, fucking basement, with your fucking blankie and be reading a description and think you know ESFPs. You got to get out there and you got to actually interact with these people. You'll realize the jewel that they have. Like I talk about one of the guys in our group, Wendell. This guy, all like, it doesn't matter that Wendell says crazy shit. We just love Wendell because he's so authentic himself. He's just so
Mhm.
authentic. You just have to love him. You just like he's gay and everything, but you just have to love Wendell. Shit, like it's like the dude it's just Wendell, man. He's gonna say some crazy interest shit, and it's just like, man, it's Wendell, man. You just had like that's the one thing about ESFP. You just like you just Cardi B, all those guys. You just have to love them if you're around them because they're just authentically themselves. They're just gonna be themselves.
Also, one thing that
That's
people
it.
don't take account of because they're isolationists, they just stay in the basement by themselves, like you mentioned. It's like these people are so lovable that they build teams around them to help them, anyways. You know what I mean? They might be chaotic themselves, but they have maybe an intuitive in the background creating plans for them, etc. Because people want to help them because they provide the fun, the networking aspect. That's what everybody misses. Like nobody plays the game of life by themselves. They always have people around them to cover weaknesses, or maybe you cover their weaknesses. So you might be better than an ESFP, let's say in noticing logical fallacies, but they run circles around you in the social game and they get farther ahead than you. So I wouldn't be criticizing ESFPs if I were you. Okay. So just mentioning that.
I mean, you gotta remember, like, networking is a huge part of life, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. A lot of people get sidetracked with that and think like logic is gonna make them liked, but that's actually contrary to belief,
It's
not
actually the
right.
fucking opposite because if
Yeah.
you're too logical, then you start killing people's dreams and they hate you for it. Okay. That's something that I had to kind of try to tone down in order to be better socially. It's like you don't kill people. In fact, sometimes I notice myself killing too many dreams, and I was like, man, Christian, just shut the fuck up, bro. Stop talking. You know what I mean? But hey,
Yeah.
everybody got their strengths and their weaknesses. Okay, that's all I'm trying to
I,
say.
Yeah, and I think ESFPs are very good at teaching people to love themselves. As I've said in another video, the greatest love you can have is the love for yourself. And ESFPs are authentically themselves a lot of the time, and they can teach others with their parent function to be the same way, guys. And at the end of the day, when the lights go off, you gotta love yourself, man. You don't want to be having these mental lapses and all this type of stuff. Because a lot of people don't really love themselves. In 2024, they don't love themselves, guys. Right? So you can learn this from ESFPs, right?
Hmm.
But this Mongolian mindset, guys, and me and Christian are fucking out.
All right, see y'all. Peace out.